Welcome in, everyone. Once again, we are here live on the Voice of College Football at the Voice of College Football here with College Football After Dark. That was a little weird intro. I apologize for that. We've got our normal panel here. We've got John, the Michigan man, Jordan, Clemson, Will, Notre Dame, Tide guy from loving his Alabama team. Ben, another Michigan guy, Tony and Tim, the Trojans. Joey, West Virginia, and Austin here to support some love with First Cardinals. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing good.
Oh, what a weekend. Oh, man.
Living the dream.
It's a Cardinal party, baby. Whoop, whoop.
It was definitely a spooky weekend all around.
That's a good point. At least there wasn't any actual Halloween games this year. Those are the scariest for most people.
You like those though, Ben? Don't you have a good history with Halloween games, right?
I don't know. That'd be an interesting topic to look into. For most teams, that's pretty scary, especially Pac-12 After Dark games. Those are scary games.
Absolutely. Hey, everybody. All right. So we've got a lot to talk about. Thanks, everybody who is joining us from around the world on the Voice of College Football channel. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Voice of College Football and all of the team channels. Really helps us out, helps Mark out as we build this community up. So first and foremost, we got some news. Folks, we got some news about the Big 12 that there was a $2.28 billion contract, which includes ESPN, Fox, and a bunch of other stuff, which we actually have a graphic for this. So where does that leave the landscape here?
Well, I think the good news is the Pac-12 is setting in a good position right now because now the Big 12 is locked up. I think the Big 12 made the mistake of jumping the gun. I know they wanted to get signed in that, but the Pac-12 was smart enough to turn down almost the exact same offer because they were looking at $300 million for 10 teams, where the Big 12 was looking at $380 for 12 teams, or the Pac-10 had 10, the Big 12 has 12. So you're looking at a $2 million difference. And so now the Pac-12 is able to talk to Amazon and other people. And by the Big 12 signing, it really don't hurt the Pac-12 because they don't offer the slot times that the Pac-12 offers. So I actually think the Pac-12 is going to come out a little bit ahead on this deal.
And just to give folks just a quick numbers background, so we pulled these. The Big 10, the SEC, and the Big 12 are very public about their media rights numbers. Then the Pac-12, as we know, has turned down a $30 million offer. They believe they're getting more, so we have them sort of penciled in as $30 million plus something. The ACC, we've actually pulled the IRS 990 reports, which break down media revenue, and based on the growth rates and some stuff like that, estimate that by the time we're talking about the new Big 10 contract, the new Big 12 contract, the new SEC contract, the ACC will be somewhere in that neighborhood of 30, 31 million. So you're looking at the three conferences, Big 12, Pac-12, and ACC, are going to be about identical. Now, one of the things that confuses people is that's just the media rights information. Then there's also about another 20 million per school that will come from the new expanded college football playoff, the NCAA basketball money, and then miscellaneous stuff like sponsorships and all that. And then deducted from all of that, which you don't see here yet, is a cost of running the conference, which is usually about 8 to 12% of that money. So when you hear that 52, okay, well, you're going to lose about 10% of that. So one of the big confusions is you get a lot of doofuses saying, oh, the Big 12 is getting 50 million and the Pac-12 is going to have 30. No, guys. The crazy thing is Big 12, Pac-12, ACC are going to have almost identical revenue numbers. And then you're going to have the SEC dramatically above that, and the Big 10 significantly above that. So it's pretty wild. Anyway, sorry for the TED Talk.
No, it really does show that it just like putting that into perspective. Because when I first heard the news, I was like, oh, the Big 12, they're like up there. And then you look at the graph and it puts it in perspective.
And also, sorry, John, was one of the things, you guys, real quick, that 20 million is a rough estimate. The college football playoff has not been renegotiated yet. So right now, for most conferences, that number is like 5 to 10 million. Again, that's an estimate that you're seeing a lot of the media people who know are using. They're saying it's going to be about 20 per school for that, all that other stuff. But the big thing we're talking about right now is just that media piece, which again for the Big 12 is going to be about 32 million.
I was just going to ask you, Tony, and anyone else from who's like representing a Pac-12, what they think they might be able to get as a renegotiated offer, because I think it's interesting that they're still kind of holding out.
Yeah. So one of the things with the Pac-12 that people don't understand is, so the Big 12 is like a very small amount of third tier rights, which is what's on ESPN Plus. It's really like the garbage offerings. The Pac-12 has the Pac-12 networks, which has their third tier rights really and some of the second tier rights. It's a little bit more mixed in together. It's not. It's more actually. I mean, it's technically all third tier rights, but it's more content than what is the Big 12 hands off to ESPN Plus. So that actually is going to have some real value. That's probably what will end up being on a streaming service like Amazon or something. And it's probably going to net them. You got to figure the whole thing is going to be, if they turn down 30, they're probably going to end up with at least 33, 35 per school or whatever. And that's going to help sustain them. Folks saying, can we talk about what really matters? This is what's paying for your entire athletic department. And so I don't know if there's anything that matters more than paying for your entire athletic department.
Right.
Well, I got a question too, Tony, or Ty Guy too. As far as how much room is there for renegotiation as far as any of these conferences are concerned, like conference expansion?
Well, the SEC is currently in negotiation because we're adding Texas and Oklahoma. This money here that is shown was signed before Texas and Oklahoma came. So they are talking with ESPN about an increase. Now, I don't think it's going to be a lot of money up front because we did recently sign. So I don't see it jumping to the 75 million, but I could see it jumping maybe 3 to 5 million more per team.
You think the SEC would have a Nick Saban-esque, like if another conference has more money than they do, that they get a bump?
That's where you talk about one of the things that the Big Ten did, which is what the Pac-12 is doing, is when you're putting it out to bid and you're trying to get as many bidders as you can, you get more uncertainty. It's a harder deal and it takes longer, but you get more money. When you do what the SEC and the Big 12 did, which is you say we're going to focus it. The SEC has sold everything to Disney, so the ABC and ESPN, they sold everything to Disney.
Yeah,
the Big 12 just extended only their current partners. They extended their current partners
to Disney.
Right. And the other thing people aren't talking about with the Pac-12 is they turned down $30 million a school. But that was just tier 1 and tier 2. Once they can retool and rework the terrible Pac-12 network that nobody can get and get that tooled around, even a bad network, a conference network should be able to gross teams between 5 and 8 million on the small side. So if they get the 30 for tier 1 and 2, and even let's say they get the Pac-12 network up to 5, well, that's 35 million. So now they're 3 million over the Big 12.
Yeah, that's the thing.
With my thoughts on that is the Pac-12 lost a lot when they lost USC and UCLA. And, that's the Los Angeles market. That's a huge market. So I think they need to expand the Pac-12 a little bit more. I think they need to go after San Diego State or Fresno State or somebody. They need to expand it to get some more money. That's my thought. That's where I stand with the Pac-12.
Joey, I agree with you. And one of the rumors that we're hearing, don't know if it's true or not, but that probably if it's whoever they're looking to add will probably be negotiated into this contract that is coming up. So, Joey, I think you're right. And I think that these numbers are going to include like a San Diego State and SMU or whoever they end up adding, if they add somebody.
And I heard San Diego State is really close to signing. And I've also heard two other schools that they're kind of going after. One's not going to make a lot of sense, but one is Nevada for the or the Las Vegas market. I don't know why they wouldn't go after UNLV, but
I was going to say UNLV.
Yeah, no, but I heard they're going after Nevada, talking to them, and I also heard they're talking to Fresno. And I think Fresno would be a really good ad.
Okay.
Well, in San Diego State, one of the things people don't realize about San Diego State, guys, is that San Diego State is actually a really good school. San Diego State has only a 35% admissions rate. That is more elite admissions than any school in the Big 12. And the reason for that is that San Diego State doesn't allow they only actually, I think they allowed just this year, they're allowing like their first PhDs because of how the university system is structured out there. So they get dinged in like rankings. So they're like 150 or whatever in rankings, but they have the admissions rate of a school that's like in the top 60 schools in the country.
Yeah.
I just think.
Well, watch this space.
I think the Pac-12 could prosper if they was to take San Diego State and maybe either SMU or Rice. I think.
Joey, I think that's those great ideas.
Yeah.
And then more opportunities for Rice to be cooked. But definitely. So we're gonna go to our next segment. So just all these SEC and people with the money, watch this space, because the next topic they're going to be watching really closely, which is how much is enough with Brian, with some of the coaching that is happening. And we'll start with Brian Harsin at Auburn. How long is he going to be the coach?
Well, what I heard about Auburn,
he's gone.
He's gone.
Is that they got a new AD. They got a new AD from Mississippi State. Now, I don't know why that person would take that job. I would never want to be the AD at a school like Auburn because the expectations are just so high.
Money.
But they couldn't really fire Harsin because they didn't have an AD. But once this AD comes, I think the first thing they're going to do is fire Brian Harsin.
I mean, are they having some regrets for Gus getting fired, because he seemed to be doing all right?
Yeah, Harsin's gone. I mean, they're not going to put up with him another week or two. They're going to get rid of him so that way they can get a coach in there for signing day. I mean, like you said, they fired Chiswick, they fired Malzahn. They fired coaches with better records than Harsin's had the last 2 years. So Harsin is pretty much gone. And the next person you talk about is Jimbo Fisher. I've heard rumors that they're going to keep him one more year and give him one more year as a chance because the buyout's $81 million. But I don't know how many more games those boosters are going to put up with losing.
Yeah, that's a rough one.
After this last loss,
here's the thing about Jimbo.
Ben, finish up with your thought, and then we'll go to Joe.
After this last loss, is it now fact that Kevin Sumlin had a better record at this point in time than Jimbo Fisher?
Oh,
yeah, no, he had a better record before this loss. He had a better record before this loss.
Because remember, he had the good season with Manziel, the 11-2. Joey, what were you going to say?
I said the problem with like Jimbo Fisher, and I hear this a lot. Hey, West Virginia needs to get Jimbo Fisher. He's a West Virginia guy, and his days are numbered at Texas A&M. I agree, his days are numbered at Texas A&M. I would not be totally opposed to Jimbo Fisher at West Virginia, but I also have to look at, hey, if you can't win at Texas A&M, with some of the best recruiting classes in the nation, how are you going to come to West Virginia and mind you, I mean, we might get a top 25 class here and there. We're generally like around 30. Okay, how are you going to win with those players if you can't win with the top players? If you're getting number 1, 2, or 3 class in the nation, so that concerns me. But I will say this: Jimbo does know West Virginia. He does know the culture, and he does understand it. So that's a big step in the right direction compared to bringing in maybe a Tom Herman or Matt Rule or somebody who maybe would not.
Right.
So, but I don't know about Jimbo being fired at Texas A&M, to be honest with you. I don't know. I just think they want to give him a little bit more time.
How much time is enough time? He's had, like 4 seasons now? 5 seasons?
He would go into next year. He would go into next year like Scott Frost. Trust me. If they keep him another year and he shows up next year and comes out 3-5, if he comes out 2-3, he's gone. I mean, Texas A&M is not going to put up with another 4-loss year, especially with the number one recruiting class they had this year.
Another thing that fans don't look at, and West Virginia fans are bad for this, is number two is how much money he's going to make off of his buyout from Texas A&M. Would he even want to work anymore? I mean, if you're making all that money, and I don't even know what his contract says. It might say he can't coach at another school where that offsets that buyout. It may very well do that. Tony would probably know what his contract says in that regard. So I mean,
the good news is with college, Joey,
they might also like restrict how many gold chains his kids can wear in West Virginia. They don't do that in.
Yeah, but in college they don't restrict like they do in the NFL. The NFL is known for putting those in that if you coach somewhere else, then it lowers the buyout, unfortunately. Well, but the thing with Jimbo, Joey, if you did take Jimbo, you wouldn't want to pay him much because you'd want him to definitely have a top offensive coordinator because his offense isn't working. He's going to need an offensive coordinator to go with him.
Do you think that Jimbo's pride won't like will he take any job without becoming the play caller?
That's what I'm wondering. That is exactly what I'm wondering. Can he swap? Because Jim Harbaugh did multiple times, and so did even your enemy Brian Kelly and many others had to swallow their pride and
had to swallow his pride, or he's going to lose his job.
In both cases.
Well, on the bright side, though, at the end of this year, if Jimbo were to go to West Virginia, I heard Brian Ferentz is going to be available for OC.
He's going to be the water boy in a minute.
He's gonna be living on the French Riviera with all that money. You guys don't feel sorry for him. He'll be sitting there vacationing for the rest of his life.
That's fair.
Let's keep it in
perspective. If Houston loses a couple more games, there's a good offensive coordinator in Dana Holgorsen for somebody.
For West Virginia. Yeah, and Tom Herman's still chilling. I've been saying Tom Herman, is out there to be a head coach. He has head coaching experience. He has OC experience. National champion OC.
Am I missing something with him, John? With Tom Herman?
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering.
I mean, what is it that
maybe just pissed too many people off?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these coaches, they get fired and, man, they got another job within 2 or 3 months. And I thought Herman didn't do a terrible job at Texas. He got him 4 bowl games. I mean, he didn't do terrible. So why isn't more teams looking at him?
Well, I would love to see Tom Herman. I'm not going to spread rumors.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go there. But I think you answered your own question. I think that the coaching fraternity is a tight group of people. I think sometimes if you kind of make a mistake within that community, I think it can come back to haunt you. He may have had some issues, how he left with Texas. There'd be a lot. It's not always being, the ability of a person to get a job. One of the biggest abilities someone can have is being likable, be able to work as a team. There's certain things. You're not always just being great at what you do. You also have to be able to work with other people. And maybe I'm not starting rumors. But if he's not getting jobs, there's a reason, right? And if it's not because he's a bad OC or whatever, there's got to be something else.
But think about this, Tim. Look at Lane Kiffin, the way he left the Raiders, the way he left Tennessee. He kind of screwed up everywhere he went. And
let's look at that though. He left the Raiders. Who was the owner of the Raiders when he left?
Yeah.
Oh, Al Davis. Okay.
Oh, Davis, boy.
Maybe it's more to do with Al Davis than maybe Lane Kiffin, or maybe a little bit of both, right? That guy was a freak show. I will never. The reason why I don't like the Raiders this day is what they did to Marcus Allen. So, he's that dude's a mess. So, the Tennessee thing. Hey, folks, he got a better job. Sorry, I'm sorry saying this to people, but he got a better job, and so I mean that's the way life goes.
That is the way life goes, and we'll see what happens with Tom Herman coming up. I know he chopped it up with Urban in the media a couple of times. So, but then again, a lot of people chopped it up with Urban. So, who knows if that was part of it or not? So the unbeatens keep winning. We have Georgia, Tennessee, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU. these are teams that just they're some of them are going to be on a collision course in a couple weeks, but they're doing what they need to do in a lot of these cases. What did you guys see from some of the unbeatens?
Well, I mean, probably the most standout performance was obviously was Tennessee. Just continuing to roll. I mean, they obviously they were extremely explosive. I mean, we know how good Tennessee's offense is, but their defense really came out to had a little bit of a coming out party. I still don't think Tennessee's defense is all that good. I think as some of that's more to do with Kentucky's deficiencies on the offensive line. I'm sure the real MVP can corroborate on that, but Tennessee looks really good, man. I'll be really interested to see, and we'll talk about it later, but it'll be really interesting to see where they fall when the college football playoff rankings come out, because it would not surprise me if there's a number one next to their name.
Yeah, I think they deserve it.
Just a reminder, you guys, Jordan, good point. On Tuesday, Mark Rogers, right here on The Voice of College Football, is going to have a great watch party. Hope you guys are all coming. 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern. When
you got it.
It's gonna be a live production as soon as it comes out. So you guys got to be here.
Yeah,
I think Tennessee is actually playing like the best team in the country right now. If you ask me, I think they are. Another unbeaten, TCU. As far as TCU, I don't put a lot of stock in them. They struggled against West Virginia, and they've still got Texas and Baylor on their schedule coming up. So that's going to tell a lot about TCU as well. So.
I could see Texas taking them.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was when I was talking with Mark, I was looking at the unbeatings and I was kind of discussing it, talking with him about it. And I spoke a little too soon before I really looked at the Tennessee game, and they had more of an impressive performance. And I was putting them in the lower, like above TCU as far as my rankings are of the unbeaten teams, but I would definitely put them up higher. But I was thinking, when I was talking with Mark, I was thinking this year looks like a better year for a Big Ten team to actually win the Natty. I think they have a better chance this year than they have had recently coming out of the Big Ten. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Oh boy, that's a whole can of worms. But yeah, I mean, I think that Ohio State and Michigan are looking like good teams. Can they handle Tennessee? We'll find out. I don't know yet. Georgia obviously gave us Michigan a lot of problems in the playoffs, which weren't that long ago. So Ohio State and Michigan have always looked, especially Ohio State, they look really good, and then they get to having to face SEC opponents, and then not so much, right? Most of the time. So
yeah, and Ben, look Thursday on my channel. I will have a video that'll kind of answer that question for you. I'm going to do the top 5 teams that do the least with the most. And you'll see one of those teams going to be on there.
I seen the smirk, and when I see you smirk, I was like, "Oh boy!"
There's some teams that always start out the season really, really high ranked, have really, really good recruiting classes, and for some reason just don't make the top 5 at the end of the year.
Yeah, and in each week on the Pac-12 show, we talk about the fact fans of the Pac-12 say we're not getting the respect, we're not getting the respect, we're not getting the respect. Well, Big Ten. What I tell the Pac-12 is just win and do something, and then they'll have to shut up. Yeah, we're not going to know until a Big Ten team steps up and smacks an SEC team in the face. So until then, it looks like it's SEC until proven otherwise.
Yeah, the closest it came was Purdue in that bowl game against Tennessee. That was like the closest it's come in the last year or two. So we'll see if this year's any different.
But I'll tell you what, Tim, I think the Pac-12 is getting a lot more respect this year. I mean, you guys, the Pac-12 is playing a lot better football this year.
Yeah, well, they had to wake up. I mean, the problem is they were down for like 4 years, worse than they've ever been in my lifetime. It was just bad. Now it's like, I like the way Tony put it. We're just back to where it normally is now.
Yeah, I mean, the Pac
that one piece to take the next step, like an Oregon or a USC, or a Utah to take that next step up, and then we'll talk.
The Pac-12's cumulative rankings last year were worse than they've been since it was the 1946 Pacific Coast Conference, which actually included Idaho and Montana.
Shout out to the Vandals. Woo!
Yeah, shout out to the Vandals. You were part of the conference along with the Grizz last time the Pac-12 was as bad as they were last year. So they're back to normal.
I used to do NCAA dynasties with Idaho and turn them into a powerhouse on
Played in the
NCAA
dome.
14.
There it is.
In the Kivy Dome.
Good
Well,
times.
Gotta love that. Well, Tennessee, I was thinking about Tennessee because a lot of people are putting Hendon Hooker now on the Heisman list, really, if not the top, up there on the top.
Yeah, he's got to be number one after this weekend. I mean, you look what Stroud, Ohio State, they didn't look good against Penn State. They finally played a team, they didn't look good. And so you look at what Hooker's done at Tennessee, and it kills me to talk good about anybody from Tennessee or the team at Tennessee. But, I mean, honestly, who else is better than Hooker right now? I mean, with the numbers he's putting up, who's better? It's hard to find someone better.
Well, better, who knows? But who is playing that dominant against that level of competition? Nobody else. So that's why I give to him.
Todd Guy, that's how you know that this is Big J journalism right here, because you're saying nice things about Tennessee because it's objectively the way it is. So,
and honestly, I mean, to me, they're the top team in the country, and I know everybody, in our chat and all that. Well, we're better. It really don't matter at this point because I mean it's not decided. But I think if everybody takes off their little glasses, their blinders, and look at, who people have played, who they won, how they won, how do you not have Tennessee top right now? Now, they play Georgia this week. Georgia knocks them in the mouth up and beats them. Guess what? Georgia, you're number one, But
I was going to say that game determines a lot.
Right.
In terms of the rankings and even Heisman watched, if Hooker has another incredible game against the number 1, number 2 team in the country.
Yeah, what if he throws 4 touchdowns Saturday against Georgia? That defense of Georgia is supposed to be, the greatest. So if he throws 4 touchdowns, how do you not almost hand him the Heisman right then and there?
Yeah.
I still think there's a chance that your guy, Bryce Young, wins it again, Tag Guy, if Alabama wins the SEC. Because I still think he might have outplayed Hooker, even though they lost.
The problem is back-to-back Heisman. It's only been done once, Griffin. It's really hard to do. You've got to really do something that second year.
Yeah, or just get the career award. He shouldn't have won it that second. Man, I digress.
No, you're right, Jim. I mean, but it is. I mean, the problem with Bryce Young winging it this year is Hooker is having such a great year. I mean, to win it back-to-back, you've got to be that much better, and there can't be anybody else around you.
Yeah. So let's keep watching the Unbeatens. Obviously, Georgia and Tennessee on a collision course. Ohio State and Michigan are about to be on a collision course in a couple of weeks. So let's see how they fare against each other. But
yeah, and I want to say
one
more thing too.
Yeah, go for it, Joey.
Are we looking at another like 2014 where TCU was left out of the playoffs in 2014? Even though they won the Big 12 and things. I look at it this way, and it's unfortunate for TCU. If Oklahoma or Texas, either one, had TCU's schedule and record, exact same schedule and exact same record right now, they would be in the top 4. TCU is not. And I think, I'm not saying TCU's an elite team by any way. What I'm saying is there's a lot of I don't know how to say it, people that are looking at TCU and thinking, well, it's TCU. If it was Oklahoma or Texas, yeah, but it's TCU. TCU's got to play at Texas and at Baylor. I realize that. But if TCU can run the schedule and win, I don't see how you could keep them out of the playoffs this year like you did in 2014. If they can run the table and
I think they're going to drop one, but I agree. If they go 13-0, then that's a pretty strong case.
Yeah,
I think everybody on this panel will agree, though. The problem is we've got voters in the AP poll. They should not be voters anymore. I mean, the voting has gotten crazy. I don't know how many people in the audience, when the AP poll comes out, it's nice to look at it, but you want to go and look how each individual person voted. And you look at how some of these people are voting, and you're like, it's time to pull his voting card because, they lock a team in, this team is good, and they keep them wherever they are, no matter how bad they're playing, until they get beat. And they don't fluctuate. This year, they're starting to fluctuate a little more. There's a little more movement at the top, but usually there's not movement.
Well, 2014, just to kind of back what Joey said, but 2014, the Big 12 hurt themselves by naming, as we remember, co-champions.
Yeah.
Between Baylor and TCU.
Right.
And that actually, I think, hurt them the most, potentially.
Yeah, because they didn't have
nobody's done that since, have they?
No.
Yeah, by NCAA rule, we weren't allowed to have a championship game at the time. So, and that hurt us just because of the rule. It's since been changed, but, there just wasn't any respect for TCU in 2014 or Baylor.
Was it because of the number of teams in the conference? I don't remember why that was.
Yeah, they dropped down to 10, and you had to have divisions in order to have championship, and you had to have at least 12 teams.
Gotcha. Texas got it fixed.
Yeah.
Good job, Texas.
Yeah.
Woohoo! So I'm going to jump slightly around because everybody in chat is talking about the news, and I think it's something that we should address. That those of you who watched last night, Michigan versus Michigan State, of course, Michigan takes care of business, 29-7, pretty solid victory. And then unfortunately, some Michigan State players decided to take out their frustration on one Michigan player. It was just announced recently that 4 Michigan State players have been suspended. And obviously pending investigation, pending more things, but suspended indefinitely, pending police investigation and all of that stuff. So that's good. That's a good start. Obviously, that not acceptable in any way. Mark Rogers, if you haven't seen the Mark Rogers video on it, I think he just laid it out perfectly. He did a great job. I would check it out.
Yeah, I agreed a lot with what Mark had to say.
Mm-hmm.
But can I ask a question to the Michigan fans?
Yeah.
And I'm not condoning what happened. Those players who did, they deserve to be arrested, assault charges. I'm not condoning any of that. The problem I have is you got one tunnel for both teams. Why don't Michigan have security, and why don't they do it like playoff games, where you're at the same – you hold one team back, you let one team in, you let them through, and then the next team,
Well, that is what they do. However, in this one instance, they do hold. So almost all the Michigan players were celebrating with their team, but the one player, McBurrows, or I think that's his name. Everybody thought it was Andrell Anthony because he wore 1, but multiple people can wear multiple numbers. So he was kind of injured, reportedly, and so he was going in with the Michigan State players so that he could get back to the locker room. But even if he had allegedly provoked or whatever verbally, there's still no excuse for 8 on 1.
No, there's no excuse for what happened.
And just so I grew up in Michigan, love Michigan, cheer for Michigan. My dad played for Michigan State. I have friends from both of these. Absolutely, 100%, whatever. I honestly think law enforcement should be involved, and these guys should be charged with assault. That said, Michigan has had problems for decades because Michigan has chosen to not do anything about its ridiculous 1920s tunnel design. So just 4 of the last 7 Big Ten games or something in that stadium have had altercations in that tiny tunnel. The Michigan tunnel, facility-wise, is not adequate. Michigan has always thought a little fisticuffs is kind of cute. Again, these Michigan State players should absolutely be charged with assault. But Michigan has to understand that Michigan has, they create the conditions that cause problems to keep happening. And just to give you guys an illustration, this is the size of the Michigan Tunnel versus the size of the Coliseum Tunnel. The Michigan Tunnel is like 1/4 the width of the Coliseum Tunnel. It is just absolutely an inadequate facility. It is inadequate for major sports. It is unsuited for a stadium like Michigan Stadium. And there's no excuse of it being old because they have completely rebuilt that stadium to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. It's real easy to knock an extra 5 feet out of each side. So absolutely 100%. I think we need to charge whatever the Michigan State players are with absolutely unconscionable behavior, but also the Big Ten needs to look at Michigan and say, get some jackhammers in there at the end of the season and add another 10 feet to the tunnel. I mean, it's just kind of has to be done.
Ben, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I don't know. I mean, I know they've had to hire extra security for the OSU games. Nothing has ever happened to this extent in 600 games played at this stadium.
But 4 of the last 7 having problems tells you that it's a facility issue.
But
it's not just one game.
And it's recent, right? Like, we weren't talking about this in 2018, 2019.
I want to make about that. I know. I mean, as far as it's recent, but here we have, like, for instance, James Franklin, the Penn State just came in, there was issues. And James Franklin is blaming the tunnel. Do we think we need coaches using the tunnel as an excuse?
But Ben, actually, it's not that new because 1, it's gone on for decades. And 2, another stadium, actually, if you guys don't know this, when Knute Rockne built Notre Dame Stadium, they actually copied the design of Michigan Stadium. They just made it a little smaller. And Notre Dame, if you guys you've seen you've seen Catholics versus convicts, you know that Notre Dame used to have fights in their tiny, tiny, tiny butt tunnel. And instead, what Notre Dame did, when Notre Dame renovated the stadium in the 90s, they added another one. And there's now a visitor's tunnel. So Notre Dame knew that, again, same stadium design. Notre Dame knew there was a problem. Michigan knows there's a problem, but Michigan doesn't want to just admit that facilities are contributing to the problem. And it's been a problem for decades. It's not James Franklin.
I'm not saying I'm not saying that doesn't contribute.
And I'm a Michigan fan, guys. Go blue. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm not saying that it doesn't contribute to it, but I don't think we should use it as an excuse for this kind of behavior.
No. That's the wrong approach.
It sends the wrong message to these kids. And one of my things that I'm wondering is because I don't think until recently it's been as big of an issue. And I'm wondering, and this is kind of where I look at maybe even transfer portal even plays in, and you might say, how does transfer portal play into this issues or into these kind of issues? Because I think it's possible, and I'm just wanting to get your guys' thought. Is it because these coaches have less control over their players nowadays?
Well, speaking of coaches, then, if you're going to say it's Michigan's problem, Michigan needs to widen their tunnel, then how much of this goes back on Tucker? For that thing. So yeah.
Oh, tons.
So it's definitely a reflection on Tucker's coaching and leadership for sure.
I mean, you guys, I'll give you an example. It's sort of like, it's sort of like saying like, hey, you know what, you shouldn't drive dangerously, but you know what, you also should have guardrails on the side of the road.
Right.
Like yes, if somebody drives off a bridge, it's their fault completely. But if you're the one building the bridge, you also put guardrails in there so people can't drive off the side of the road.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And that's how I look at it. Like, absolutely, charge these douchebags from Michigan State, put them in friggin' jail. But at the same time, Michigan should be like, hey, you know what? None of this happens if we spend an extra $500,000 out of our $200 million renovation.
I am wondering, where was the extra security that was supposed to be around? Because there were media reports about extra security after the Penn State peanut butter gate situation the previous week before the bye. So that's what I was wondering. Where was this? Where was the security? Why could it's just an unfortunate situation all around.
I'm wondering, John, if it was more that security was more for halftime because that's where most of the issues have been.
Maybe.
And then after, and there was a big separation already of the teams after the game. The Michigan State pretty much went into their tunnel, and then you didn't really have worry of players bumping into each other right away because they were celebrating, and then it was just an unfortunate situation there.
Well, can I say something? We got Dave Snott here. You know, he said we're not changing the stadium. Well, that's fine. You know, you don't have to change the stadium. But if it happens again, guess what? Don't cry about it. I mean, if you want the problem to stop, you got to do something about it. I mean, if you don't want to change the stadium, that's fine. Then hire more security. Make sure one team goes in. Make sure the other team. Don't let one person go in from your team when the whole other team is there. You know, I mean, there's ways around doing this, but you're Michigan. You got the money. Why not just fix the problem?
Did he have a trainer or anybody with him walking him in with the tunnel, or was he just going in there by himself?
There was like one personnel member that I saw kind of trying to.
Yeah,
I saw like one person.
Yeah, I think, or maybe two. And I seen a cop. Actually, a cop was like in one video. I think a cop had a camera out videoing what was going on.
Yeah, and again, guys, nothing we're saying is taking away from the fact that absolutely the Michigan State players who beat that guy up should absolutely go to jail and be charged with assault. But at the same time, Michigan, just like putting guardrails on the side of the road so that people don't drive into the lake, Michigan can just as easily solve it with really no financial additional investment and make, by the way, make it up just common sense. The other thing is Michigan Stadium is limited in what they can do event-wise and stuff there because they can't get stuff in the tunnel. They can't get trucked into the stadium and all that. Like, you have to bring stuff in cranes. Like, it's just Michigan deserves better. And that tunnel is named after a family friend of ours, Coach Carr, and he deserves a bigger tunnel.
Another point that actually doesn't go bode well for Michigan is Michigan and Harbaugh. I mean, Harbaugh himself has complained about locker room facilities of other schools recently. And if you're going to go and you're going to say things about these other schools' facilities, you need to look at your situation. And I agree with that. I just don't like putting the focus on the tunnel when in this situation, because I don't think we should make excuses. And
this situation was absurd. Yeah, it was completely unacceptable. And I do agree that, yes, the tunnel thing is absolutely valid. And it's something that they need to address. This was absolutely abhorrent behavior. And I think that they are starting to address it in the last half hour.
And John, I figured out how we could get this changed faster, even because Michigan has pride, and your pride is you own the big house. Okay, well, we're going to change your stadium to the little tunnel, and we're not going to let you call big house until you fix the tiny tunnel.
Congratulations, Michigan! Your game's being played in the tiny tunnel.
Yeah, that's. Hey, you know, every time we underemphasize ourselves, we seem to do better anyway.
There you go.
Every time we go under the radar, that's like when we stop taking the kid. I mean, we take the kids to Italy and everything. That's awesome. But when we fly under the radar, we actually do better. So it may not be the worst thing in the world. D4 is right. I mean, listen. They should be prosecuted. So yes, you're right. As for the other part, every single
also true, but okay. We kind of love them for it.
But do you guys think
we kind of love them for it? We kind of love them for it, guys.
But every team has that though. Every team talks trash. Talking trash is okay. It's the physical extracurriculars that we're trying to avoid.
And I mean, Lou Holtz kind of liked it in that tiny tunnel that matched Michigan exactly. When his players got into it with Miami. And what did Lou Holtz say? Did he say you're suspended indefinitely? He said, no, save Jimmy Johnson for me. So, you know, there's that. Yeah.
Do you think the comments, like Franklin before making excuses about the tunnel, do you think that played any part in the mentality of these players and the tunnel for that game?
No.
I think they were really frustrated players, and I think that it was a stupid thing, and they acted like thugs, and they'll pay the legal price for it, as they should. And by the way, my dad, like I said, my dad's a Michigan State letter winner. My dad played Rose Bowl's national championship for Michigan State. So, I'm not bagging on the Spartans, but discipline is necessary in this case.
And unfortunately, these are kids. I mean, you got to keep in mind, you know, we talk about it all the time. These are 18 to 22-year-old kids. A lot of these kids just came out of high school, you know.
I'm putting a link for later. Obviously, once you're off, if you still want some more Voice of College Football, I'm putting the link to Mark's video because I thought it was really good on this topic. So for if you haven't checked it out yet. But so
Not
let's
use Dexter. Are you standing up for Jimmy Johnson over Lou Holtz? Don't tell
I'll
Mark.
stand up for
I mean, that was a
Johnson.
completely
Out of the
different
hole.
situation. It was just like the guy. And
It was the
this one.
80s too. There was probably like a buffet of blow in the locker room anyway in Miami.
I mean,
Yeah.
you're not.
I'm
I
kidding.
don't
I'm
think
kidding. I'm
you're-
kidding. I'm kidding. Mark, don't.
I don't think you're wrong.
Mark, don't hate me. I was kidding.
Okay, so how about this
meant
topic?
sugar.
How about what the hell happened to Oklahoma State on Saturday? Kansas State
Wake
comes
up,
in 48-0. Didn't they have their backup? Like, was Martinez even playing?
You guys,
Nope, it was
we were just
Will
saying
Howard.
Michigan State should be arrested for assault.
Yeah.
Kansas State needs to be arrested
Kansas
for
State
assault.
needs to be
The
arrested.
whole team, first degree murder.
Yeah.
They killed the Cowboys.
Here's the unfortunate
What's
thing.
going on? Because they were a contender to win the championship last year. Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
And they were in the driver's seat to make the championship game this year. I mean, honestly.
And here's the unfortunate thing about that. A great win for Kansas State, yeah. But they sure do have a tough schedule ahead because they got to play Texas this week, then Baylor. Then they got to go to Morgantown, and then they've got their rivalry with Kansas. So, yeah, it was a
Joey.
great victory for Kansas State. They got a long way to go. Now, Oklahoma State,
Joey,
on the
are
other hand,
you
their schedule's pretty easy. Go ahead.
Joey? Why would you let, why
Real
would
quick,
you let-
friend of the
why
friend of
would
the
you
show,
not
Wet
let
Blanket.
Kansas State-
If you're watching, we send our love to friend of the show, Wet Blanket. We're sorry for your Cowboys and your loss.
Joey, why won't you let Kansas State enjoy their victory for a couple days? Why? You gotta try to,
Yeah.
oh well, look what they
Well, it's
have
a great
going
win
on.
for
Let them
Kansas.
play it for a day or two.
I've never seen a Gundy team get outplayed like that. That was unreal. And I believe everybody
Yeah,
would agree with me. I mean, you just don't think that's going to happen.
Three turnovers is never good for your chances. But they were. I'm looking at the stats here, and almost every single one except third down efficiency, Kansas State had more. So in like every literally passing, rushing. Penalties actually, Oklahoma State had fewer. That's interesting.
Yeah,
So,
but John, you can't blame them for third down efficiency because they didn't get to third down that often.
That's
Yeah. Hey, I got some trivia for you guys.
yeah.
So this was the worst loss that the Cowboys have taken since the 2000 season. Went to Lubbock, Texas, and got blown out 58-0. Who can tell me who the head coach of that Texas Tech team was, and who was the quarterback?
Gundy.
Joey already knows because we talked about it on his. On
Was
the
that
show,
was Gundy the
on
head?
Golden
Was
Boot earlier.
Gundy the head coach at that point? Or was he the
No,
quarterback?
who was the head coach? I'm sorry, who was the head coach of Texas Tech? Sorry, who was the head coach of Texas Tech, and who was the quarterback for Texas Tech?
This is why I don't play Jeopardy.
Was it
I wouldn't know this at all.
Cliff Kingsbury?
That was the
I think
quarterback.
that was too early.
Who was
That
head
was the
coach?
quarterback. Dang, I'm trying to think of the coach. I can see him, but I can't name him. I knew Kingsbury was
Think
the
about
coach.
it. Texas Tech in the
Or
early
was the
2000s. Who was it?
quarterback.
Is he in the NFL now?
No.
No.
Leach.
It wasn't
No.
Leach yet, was it?
Was it?
Yeah, it was Leach. It was Leach, and Kingsbury was his quarterback.
That
That's
is
right.
correct. It was Mike Leach. Mike Leach was the head coach, and Coach Bro, Cliff Kingsbury was the quarterback. So,
Yeah,
Yeah,
nice
that
job,
is-
everybody in the comments section who got it. We have some college football trivia buffs here.
All right, Austin. I don't know what happened to Austin, but we were talking about turnovers, and if you're going to talk about turnovers, you can't forget to mention the Wake Forest Wake Forest, Louisville game.
Wow.
30 points and
Speaking of which, what happened to
one
Austin?
quarter.
He was in here.
Yeah, and Wake Forest had 6 turnovers in the third quarter alone.
That's insane.
It was 8 total, wasn't it?
Yeah, 8 total and 6 in the third quarter.
That's a lot.
I mean, who do they think they are? Miami?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh man. I didn't even
Oh,
put
the
Miami
ACC.
in here, but holy shit. Yeah. That,
Really,
that
that
was
Does that
4
mean-
quadruple overtime.
Oh well, I was going to say
Every time I go to bat for this
Wake
conference, they go and make me put my foot in my mouth. Okay, listen. I mean, when you turn the ball over 8 times, you're gonna. I mean, nobody's winning that game. I don't think Wake Forest is that bad. I don't think Louisville is that good, but it's that's definitely not a good look. I mean, Wake Forest was ranked top 10. Is Wake Forest the 10th best team in the country? No, but I still think they're a good team. I don't think they're as bad as their worst performance. But man, that was brutal.
I mean,
I
they could have been Oklahoma State.
How many times in college football history has there been that many turnovers in a game?
2 this month.
Yeah.
Yeah, back-to-back weeks.
Crazy.
Pretty
Back-to-back
pretty incredible.
Power 5 teams. That was Wake Forest watching Miami the week before and going, hold my beer. We're going.
Yeah, hold my beer. Right.
Yeah. And,
Well,
Wild times in
another
the ACC. I like it.
So another in the woe column, even though they're not officially ACC, they're independent, as we know. Will, you guys beat a ranked team.
And you smoked them, too.
Yeah.
You didn't just beat them. You guys whipped them.
Well, it was an ACC team, so.
Yeah.
I have no rebuttal.
Most complete game of the season so far. Definitely gives me I mean, I'm not confident that we're going to beat Clemson, but I'm more confident that we have a better chance than we did before we played. So,
Unfortunately,
Definitely.
Will, you're playing them at home.
well, okay. People say that, but I feel like the best teams we played have been away. I feel like our team is playing up and down to our competition. So, I feel like we have a good chance to win. Really happy with the special teams this year, especially with the blocked punts. Really happy with that. Really happy with how our O-line has progressed. This is a completely different O-line than the one that played against Ohio State. There's some guys that I'm like, don't know if they're going to be an NFL player, and now I'm like, could they be like a first or a second round draft pick? So, yeah, really excited about our O-line. And yeah, I mean, I'm just not confident in Drew Pine making enough throws. I'm really.
I was gonna say, what's
that's the one.
like?
That's the one reason why I'm not very confident, but I'm very confident with how the team has come. And something I forgot to say in the post-game show, Marcus Freeman is earning his stripes now. Like now, he's just showing so much more emotion on the sideline that he just didn't before. And he's getting in the refs' ears now, and it helped us out. So, in some situations, because they just weren't calling holdings on Isaiah Foskey, they're grabbing at him so much, and eventually they started calling them on Syracuse at the end. So, yeah, I'm really excited about the performance. We just need Drew Pine. Please come through with a couple clutch throws to Tobias Merriweather, Lorenzo Styles, or Deion Colsey, because those guys are receivers too. You don't just have to stare down Michael Mayer for 30 seconds and then take a sack. He can throw it to other receivers too.
Well, the Clemson Tigers are going to be at Notre Dame November 5th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern.
I will be there. I will be at South
You're
Bend.
going to be there?
Yes.
Oh,
very nice.
Nice.
You're a brave man, Will.
Well, and I'm happy for you, Will. I'm glad that Notre Dame's turned it around, and Austin's not with us anymore. But I'll tell you what, we were talking with Austin a couple weeks ago, and looking for 5 wins and maybe a 6 to go to a bowl game did not look possible. to Louisville a couple weeks ago, but now you look at them, they're going to get 7 wins. I think they beat James Madison. And the way Kentucky's playing and the way Louisville, they're going to beat Kentucky.
That'll be an interesting game for sure. But I don't know. I'm not ready to say that because Kentucky has played they've played Louisville really well, especially when they had, I thought Louisville had a chance to beat Kentucky last year, and look what happened. I don't know. Kentucky just seems to kind of have an answer for Louisville's mobile quarterbacks. They whooped up on Lamar Jackson back when he was at Louisville. They just kind of seem to have their number. But it definitely is a more interesting game, and Louisville is definitely playing a lot better. Honestly, the most impressive thing about Louisville has been their defense. Actually, they've been pretty really good, especially these last few weeks. That's going to be an interesting game. I'm definitely more nervous when Clemson, when they come to Memorial Stadium in a couple weeks. So that'll be an interesting one.
And see, that's why I give Louisville a chance at Kentucky, because Kentucky could only score 6 points on that Tennessee defense, and we all know what Tennessee defense is. And Louisville, like you said, they're getting much improved on that defensive side of the ball.
They are. Real quick, we have George here in the chat, and we are all so happy to see George.
Oh my God, George!
George is here. We're happy to see you back. He was working the last few months in a way, but he is back contributing again, and we're all really glad to have him back. Yep, there. That's a classic George comment right there. Number 25 before the end of the season. Go Gators, beat somebody. Yep.
There you go.
I want to say one thing about this community in Mark Rogers College Football. Everybody was genuinely concerned about you, George, when we didn't hear from you for a while, and we're glad to have you back.
Yes, and this community, by the way, has been awesome. There's I view y'all as friends and everything, both in the panel and a lot of the people in the comments. And it really is an awesome community. Check out the Patreon, right? I haven't plugged it yet today. Check out the Patreon, only $5, and you get talks like this practically every night. We have hangouts, Discord chat going 24/7, 365 days a year. Mark's betting guide, where he doesn't just put his in, he actually gets people like others in the media to put their picks in. So you have like a comprehensive Excel of all these different media people and who they're picking. It may help you with your betting. You never know. So lots of stuff. We do pick'ems, and of course you get to be on, potentially on the panel for College Football After Dark if you're on the Patreon. So join up, only $5, and we all love it, right? So it's a good time. Moving on to the playoff. So we talked a little bit about it earlier, but what inspired me to put this in is Darrell MVP had a phone conversation with Mark on the Collins show last night, where we were talking about potentially 3 SEC teams in the playoff. I want to know the feasibility of that. I want to hear from Tide Guy first. The feasibility of having 3 SEC teams. I'm just curious. Can it be done, or are they going to be battling each other and taking L's, and maybe some of them don't make it in?
Realistically, there is a good chance that we could have 2 teams 12-1 and 1 team 11-1. I'm not going to say that can't happen, because there's a good chance that can happen. But I'll tell you right now, only Greg Sankey and ESPN would want 3 teams from the SEC. And I'm sorry about that.
They seem to really want it based on ESPN.
I'm a Bama fan. I don't want 3 SEC teams.
Yeah,
I don't think that would be good for the sport. I think two sometimes pushes it. And I think if you look at the Alabama LSU rematch, if you look at Georgia Alabama last year rematch, those don't make big ratings. People don't want to see rematches. And I think a lot has to happen for 3 teams to get in. I mean, you're going to have Clemson,
and TCU both drop games. Yeah.
And you're going to have to pray that the Pac-12 don't get a 12-1 team. I mean, they still have some teams with only 1 losses, and it's feasible a Pac-12 team could be 12-1 and a Pac-12 champion. You could have a 12-1 Big 12 champion. Clemson can go undefeated. I mean, the way the ACC teams are playing right now. So I don't see 3 teams from the SEC unless Clemson loses 2 games. Pac-12 doesn't have a 1-loss champion, and TCU loses a couple games. I don't see 3 teams from the SEC in.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot. There were some predictions about 2 SEC and 2 Big Ten teams. I don't know. Like, I'm starting to think that's probably unlikely. I think the winner of Ohio State, Michigan, assuming Illinois doesn't cause a bunch of trouble, will probably get in. But I don't think the loser is now getting in, just based on the fact that there's so many teams on the cusp. Clemson could very well go undefeated, which they're in if they do. Jordan, I'm sure you're following this closely. You guys could potentially go undefeated.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, at the end of the day, it's, prior to the season, I actually picked Clemson to lose 2 games. So this is, you're already exceeding my expectations so far. But, there's still some landmines on the schedule. So it would not shock me if Clemson dropped a game. I mean, hell, they could drop the one they play this week. So
I wanted to ask Ty a quick question.
I do think if Clemson runs the table, it's they're in.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think you got a good chance even if you're a 1-loss team. I mean, because you're going to be the ACC champion. Yeah. And what happens if the perfect scenario for the SEC is also a bad case scenario is for 3 teams to make it, you're going to have Tennessee beat Georgia. Now, Georgia's going to have 1 loss, but they're not going to be in the championship game. But then if Alabama beats Tennessee, we're 1-1 against each other. Are you going to take a 1-loss Georgia team over an ACC champion who has an extra win? Because Georgia's going to be 11-1, you'll be 12-1. So you got the extra win. You got these championship teams have to earn something. I mean, it's got to be worth something. I don't care what conference you play for. Winning the ACC has to mean something.
Yeah. And there's still the possibility of a USC or a UCLA if they go the rest of the way.
Yeah, because you can have a 12-1 UCLA, 12-1 USC. Heck, you can have
sorry.
Well, the Ducks won't make
Oregon.
it. The Ducks won't make it. They're going to
crack.
Yeah.
Some blood stains are hard to wash out.
But the problem with Oregon is if Oregon, here's the question. Oregon goes 12-1, they win the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Alabama wins the SEC. Do you put a 1-loss Georgia team in the playoffs, or do you put a 1-loss Oregon team that lost 49-3 to Georgia?
Yeah. See, that's the problem. That stain is hard to wash off. Again, we know all the reasons why the team has changed. The team is better. Team is stronger. The coach's first game. All 1,000 reasons, yes. But the stain is there.
Yeah.
I'll take a Rose Bowl if it keeps everyone else away from their opportunities.
Is it better for Oregon to have Georgia just win out? Is it up their chances?
Yeah, if Georgia beats everybody, then maybe it's not as big a stain as we thought.
No, it's not a pain. Yeah.
Especially if Georgia boat races some of those teams too.
Yeah.
Well, because what's helping hold up Georgia's resume right now? Them beating the hell out of us in week 1.
But the good news is,
right.
Alabama would play Georgia in the SEC championship, and Georgia can't beat us in Atlanta.
Well.
All right, so Ty, I wanted to ask you this. Now that you're back on your Alabama kick, what do you think? And your SEC bias is showing. What do you think is more likely? The SEC getting in 3 teams or the Big Ten getting in 2? for the playoffs.
Honestly, here, I like Michigan. I don't like Ohio State so much, but my problem is, what does Michigan do when they win in the Big Ten? What is your bowl record? What do you guys do? You guys beat up on the Big Ten and you stomp them. And then you go to the Rose Bowl and lay down. You went to the playoff and kind of laid down against Georgia.
Well, let me address that.
For 1.5.
Okay, so here's the thing. Everybody dogs on the bowl record. I will agree we should have beat South Carolina. However, almost every other bowl there, you're facing. We almost beat Dalvin Cook. We didn't, but Dalvin Cook in 2016. This past one was the national champion. The one before that, we were up against basically the entire 2020 Bama national championship title team, because it was Mac Jones. It was everybody around Mac Jones. So we basically played the team that went to go win the national title the next year. So some of our opponents have been a little bit tough. I don't excuse South Carolina and a couple others, but
Jadeveon Clowney, man, that was such a big hit.
But John, you're 21.
Well, they also lost to Will Muschamp. That was worse than losing to Jadeveon Clowney.
And that one I don't excuse that one.
But Michigan overall is 21 and 28 in bowl record for bowl record.
Like all time.
That's not a good lick. Yeah, all time. That's not a good lick. You know, and I mean, and that's kind of how Ohio State is. And Ohio State, stop and think about this. Since 2007. More times than not, they've been ranked in the top 3. More times than not, they've had top 5 recruiting classes. And they've only won one championship. And they get to the playoffs and they lose more times than they don't. You know, they win. So
I get kind of what you're saying, but this is I think there's one team, if in all of college sports, that if we're going to give the benefit of doubt anytime, is and that has continually proved us wrong when we didn't, is Alabama. We have Alabama and then nobody else. You know, I could see anybody you can make that argument for almost any SEC team as far as, you know, they've, you know, underperformed. You know, you can do that, you know, throughout.
Take a team like Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
And Jordan will know this better than I do because I don't have all the facts on Clemson. When was the last time Clemson had a top 5 recruiting class? When was the last time Clemson had back-to-back top
year?
6?
Well, no, 2 years ago, 2021.
Okay, but you got 2 national championships, and you didn't have top 5, top 3. You know, you're not in Alabama. Right. You're not in Ohio State.
We've only had 2 top 5
more
classes.
With less. Yeah, you do more with less than most teams do with more, is what I'm saying. Right. You know, so.
Yeah, maybe Clemson could get a little bit more of a benefit of a doubt as far as, you know, if you're going to look at like past years and what they've done. But I mean, I don't see looking like, you know, we have a horrible bowl record, but I don't think those bowls are the same as a championship. Like, we didn't quit fighting that whole Georgia game. We got beat. I mean, we outscored them the second half. You know, just had a horrible first half. You know, horrible first quarter. You know, I don't think that next necessarily reflects what the next year is going to be. And if you're looking at it as a committee, do you take that in consideration?
No, and you shouldn't, because I mean, each team is a different team. You know, the Georgia team this year is not the Georgia team last year, you know, and I mean, it's true. Every year you lose a lot of players. You got new players coming in, so it's not the team. But you can kind of look at past history and how, you know, like look at Texas A&M. In the beginning of the year, they were picked 6th. Who on this committee thought they were even a top 10 team? Because Jimbo Fisher had never, you know, had one great year at A&M, and all the other years they're 8-4. So you kind of see, you know, if this coach is 8-4, kind of like Penn State. Penn State's probably the 3rd best team in the Big Ten. But you know, when they play Michigan, you know, when they play Ohio State, Franklin is going to lose. He can't win a big game.
Well, Desmond Howard had A&M winning the national title, so there's a
yeah, and Baylor in the you know, look at it. Yeah, look at his teams.
We do love him for what he did for our school, but some of the football analysis has been a bit shaky of late. Awesome. So we're at the point now where everybody talks about their team, and we've already had a little bit of that, but we're going to start with Ben. How do you feel about the Michigan Wolverines?
Oh, I'm really
Michigan,
pleased.
Ben. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really pleased with where Michigan's at this year. I think they're a better team this year than they were last year. Overall, objectively, the weakness that I see this year is we don't have the pass rush that we had last year, but in every other aspect of the game, we look more solid, I think. I think our defense as a whole gels together better than last year. I think we, play as a defensive unit better than we did. And I like our team. The big kicker is that I think also Ohio State is a better team this year too. And I think that's gonna be that's gonna be our issue, just beating Ohio State, and I and that's gonna be a tough one.
That defense looks good for Ohio State. Like Knowles, he's doing a lot of that like blitz and cover zero stuff, and but it's looking good. The question is, is he able to vary it up? Which he has been to some extent, but he'll definitely need to vary it up when he's playing Michigan. But I concur with everything you just said, so I'm going to skip myself.
Unfortunately, John, with Ohio State, this is the first year Ohio State has really had a defense, because that's always been Ohio State.
2019,
go out there and score, but that defense has always kind of hindered them in the past.
Yeah, 2019 was the last year with Chase Young, right? Like that, he was ridiculous for them. But Joey, what do you think about West Virginia?
Well, try not to think about them too much these days. No, I'm just kidding. The thing about West Virginia is we have a really good offense. But the problem is, if you can stop that offense, you can beat us, and I don't care who you are. I think if we played Colorado, they would beat us. Our defense is horrible. We have no defense. We have no secondary. So if you can stop our offense and just keep us from outscoring you, that's just it. All you got to do is stop us. So we go on the road to Iowa State this week. Iowa State's some pretty good defense. Now, TCU's pretty good defense as well, and they went all the way to the wire this week. I think that shows there's a lot of parity in the Big 12 this year. It doesn't matter from top to bottom. All the teams are pretty equal. You have a couple of teams that are a little bit better than others, of course, but there's a lot of parity. And so can West Virginia make a bowl this year? It's going to be tough. I won't lie, but it's very well possible, because we're 3-5. If we can beat Iowa State this week, we're 4-5, and then we play Oklahoma. Oklahoma's not very good this year. We get them at home. Let's say we beat them, we're 5-5. Now we just got to beat either Kansas State or Oklahoma State. Kansas State's at home at West Virginia, and Kansas State don't have a good record at West Virginia, just like most Big 12 teams don't. So the schedule's shaping up for us a little bit to be able to make a bowl. But I think Dana Holgorsen, his days are numbered. I think he will be fired by the end of the year. So whether we win out or not, I think he's done.
Well, Neil Brown, you're thinking of Neil Brown, right?
Yeah, that's what I said. Neil Brown. Neil Brown.
Oh, same guy. Right, I got what
Neil Brown, Dana Holgorsen, same guy.
Same guy.
Yeah. No, but now
they have the pieces. They just need the conductor in the orchestra.
Yeah. Neil Brown's a fantastic coach. Sunday through Friday, absolutely fantastic coach. Great recruiter. Players love him. He's a great steward of West Virginia. He understands the culture. He was born and raised in Kentucky, so he understands West Virginia. Problem is the man can't coach on Saturday. So maybe we just need to hire a coach for Saturday. I don't know what the answer is, but
or you keep Neil Brown as the chief West Virginia ambassador or something.
Yeah,
and then you get a head coach.
Yeah, and get a head coach and let Neil Brown do all the press conferences and all the appearances and stuff. Yeah, maybe so. But anyway, that's about all there is. They're on a high note though for West Virginia. We do have a player in the NFL that's tearing it up right now named Geno Smith. And
yeah, look at that.
10 years to come to life, but man, he
10 years.
Don't say that name around me.
Yeah. But he only threw 6 touchdown passes against Clemson. But yeah, I mean, Geno's. But just today, let's see, what was it? He had a 109 QBR rating.
He looked good.
9.4 today. 23 of 34.
Especially in the second half, he was lighting it up in the second half, and once that game got it was defensive struggle in the beginning. Once it got going, Geno, he got it.
So if you're a West Virginia fan and somebody starts talking bad about your team, just say Geno Smith. That's all you say. That's what I do.
All right, Geno Smith. All right, Tide Guy, Alabama.
Hold on, real quick before we finish. Before we finish with Joey, can we recognize a West Virginia Mountaineer that has single-handedly re-energized College Game Day? Pat McAfee is awesome, Joey.
Yeah,
and kudos to him.
great job.
Yeah. That is true. Pat McAfee has re-energized that show. He sure has.
We'll also honor the super chat real quick. BGPO Football Funk, thank you for your contribution. Clemson going to destroy Notre Dame.
That's my man. That's my man DeAndre. He's my fellow co-host on the
segue into Will
on the Clemson Voice of College Football channel. So shout out to DeAndre. I hope he's right. I'll take a win. I mean, I'd like to blow him out, but
I see a dub. I see a close. I see another Clemson Syracuse-esque situation.
I hope no. I don't want it to play out like that. No,
Notre Dame.
We turned
I
it over.
can see a score in that kind of
a ball as well as we did against Syracuse. I mean, if we run for 300 yards on Notre Dame, that's. If you listen to Josh Pate, he has those padlock stats. I think that's a padlock stat. If Clemson runs for nearly 300 yards, I think that's a padlock stat.
All right, Tide Guy, Alabama.
I wouldn't say 300. I would go 200.
Oh, by the way, John, real quick.
Clemson, I'm just talking about they ran for 300 on Syracuse. So I was like, if they were to do that against Notre Dame, that would be a padlock. I don't think that's going to happen. That was
Joey, what's up?
Jay Burke makes a great comment in chat there. He says Brent Venables is a huge downgrade from Lincoln Riley. Last time I looked, Syracuse was still, or not. I don't think he's talking about Syracuse. Clemson was still undefeated without Brent Venables. So that's pretty good statement there. I'm sorry, I seen that statement and had to read it.
There you go. Okay, Ty Guy, let's talk about Alabama.
Alabama gets to go to LS Who. So we get beat up on Brian Kelly for the third time since 2012.
For this week. Roll Tide, baby. Roll
Tide. Will's going to be getting all into Crimson. And
yeah, I screwed up. I should have sent him a jersey, a hat. We could have had him all decked out in Bama gear. And honestly, I think this will be a good game this week. LSU always plays us close. I mean, let's be honest, LSU has talent. There's talent there. I don't care who the coach is. There's talent there.
5 stars all over.
So it's going to be a good game. It should be a lot of fun. I'm more anxious. I mean, this week is going to be a good game, but I'm really anxious for next week because next week we got Ole Miss. So, let's take care of LSU this week, and then next week we can talk about going to play Ole Miss.
There you go. And those games with Lane Kiffin are always a great time.
Oh, yeah.
He treats that like the national championship every single year. You're going to see trick plays and onsides, and it's grab your popcorn.
And I'd like to say one thing for the chat. I've been down on Michigan. I've been down on Ohio State. But honestly, I think Michigan wins the Big Ten this year. I think you guys will beat Ohio State.
Wow.
I don't have faith in Ohio State.
Thank you, Ty Guy. We hope you're right. Don't we, John? Go Blue.
We really hope you're right.
Let's go with real quick, too, while we're on Alabama. DeAndre's coming back hot.
Ooh, wow.
DeAndre, do you want me to die inside?
Here's the problem. Here's the problem with that. LSU upsets Bama. We're playing them in Death Valley. In the last 18
You're not playing them in Clemson?
In the last 18 games in Death Valley, We've only lost 4 times. I'm more scared of playing them in Tuscaloosa than I am in Death Valley. That's not a real Death Valley.
I agree.
All right, let's go.
I very much agree.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go, Will. We talked a little bit about your victory against a ranked opponent yesterday, but how are you feeling about the rest of your season and how it's looking?
Well, this is if this is a big if we win out, this season's a big success because of the improvement that we've seen under Coach Freeman. But I feel like this is where the season. I mean, obviously there was a season before, but this is the season that really starts because if we play up to our potential, which I kind of felt like we did against Syracuse, but we did leave points on the board that we'll have to cash in if we want to beat Clemson and SC. But like if we keep improving like we did against Syracuse, I feel like this could be a great season, even though we lost 3 games and 2 of them we definitely should not have lost. But I'm excited and nervous for what's to come.
I would say it would be a good season. I was hearing a lot of people saying 11-1, 12-0 this year for Notre Dame. So
I thought we were going to lose at least 1 with the schedule.
I think it would be respectable because that would be bowling, right? And that would be probably a semi-decent bowl game if you win out.
Maybe New Year's 6 if we get lucky, but
that'd be cool.
Wait, 9-3.
That would
with
be
the win, with the resume of wins, like beating it.
If you go 9-3, Will, if you go 9-3, you could play LSU.
Oh, that would be
great.
Oh my God, that would be
that would rule.
If you had Notre Dame 9-3 and LSU 9-3, you're going to be playing in a bowl game.
Hey man, we have a good history of against LSU in our last 2 bowl games.
That is true.
But LSU now has Kelly. No.
It seems like Brian Kelly was the reason you guys were winning. No, I'm kidding.
Time for the Trojans.
He was the
Tim.
reason that we lost that game against Florida State for sure. The Champs Sports Bowl it was called. That was a painful bowl loss.
I think Notre Dame is like the biggest tale of 2 teams. I mean, they are Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde teams. So but hey, if they start playing, I mean, I think that's just maybe the speed bumps of new system and coaching. You might be able to pull out the wins.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. Tim, how do you feel about your Trojans?
Well, again, I'm not going to let the national media move the goalposts. That if you've been paying attention to Rick or paying attention to Tony or myself, nobody here was talking playoffs. No one has been talking playoffs. Not even sure if we really want to see playoffs because this team is an absolute success. I don't really care. I watched USC football before Lincoln Riley. I watched recruiting before Lincoln Riley. I watched the culture and the way this team would just fold under adversity before Lincoln Riley, and none of that's happening. We went to a game last, against a really good offense, and was a shootout with them, and with our 2 best receivers out, and having some other injuries on the offensive line, still put up 611 yards. Caleb threw for 400 plus yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. We kept hearing people saying, "Oh yeah, of course he's a good quarterback. He's got Addison and he's got Williams." But he showed that, 2 things. One, he showed that USC is deeper than just those 2 stud receivers. We got a great receiving core. Anyone that questioned USC's receiving group, watched that game, and you saw our 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th stringers just balling out. So I'm not going to allow the national media to change the whole narrative of USC season if they don't make the turn. Oh, well, you didn't make the playoff. We know that if you don't make the playoff, you're not a good team. I think they did a great job overnight turning this program around. We had the chance for a 10-1 USC versus a 10-1 UCLA at the end of the season. I mean, I can't remember last time that game was this meaningful if that happens. And USC finishes with double-digit wins. All you guys out there in the top 10 in recruiting, you better go make sure that your coaches are re-recruiting and recruiting your guys, because I think USC is not only going to finish the season strong on the field, but we're going to crush it in the portal and in the recruiting season.
Well, I was the lone guy who said potentially playoff appearance 11-1, and everybody on Earth said I was crazy. So that goes to show you that you were right. No, most people were not saying playoff, but 11-1 could happen still. Tony.
First of all, Tim just summed up USC really well. We are so far ahead of where we thought this team was going to be. It's really exciting. Just so you guys know, though, there's another controversy in the Pac-12. Friend of this show, the Stanford Tree, walked out during halftime with a sign that said, Stanford hates fun, and as a result was suspended until January. So we've given the Stanford Tree in exile an offer to come on the show and as a guest host anytime. So
Wow.
Leave it to Stanford that in a stadium with guys, what were there? You think 2,500 butts in that stadium? Maybe like a high school JV size. Like how many people even saw that sign? But now millions of people are reading all about it. So Stanford does in fact hate fun, but USC does not. So fight on, Trojans. We'll see you guys next week.
And that's weird, with a school where halftime programs include urination and things like that. There's
chasing little boys across the field, a celebration of the potato famine. Turning the USC mascot into glue.
Isn't the goal for the marching band side of USC is to just kind of troll other people?
This is Stanford. Stanford it is. Yeah, that's the entire, all they do is troll people. But apparently when you troll their own school, you get suspended until January. So he is, however, don't be afraid, guys. He is CEO of 2 video game companies, so he'll be fine.
Can I get it one more time? This guy in Michigan, I don't know, Michigan man, Jason, maybe you Michigan guys know this dude, but he's been cracking on USC for some unknown reason. Michigan man, Jason, your school is 1-6 against USC since Kennedy was in the White House. So can you just chill the hell out with USC is going to be in trouble during the Big Ten? All right.
Yeah, they're probably going to turn you into mincemeat like they usually do.
Well, and the problem with Michigan is they're going to continue to lose to UCLA when UCLA gets there. Every year they got to play in the Rose Bowl.
By the way, if you thought Michigan State was bad in the tunnel, wait till you meet the USC band.
Okay, that's kind of funny. I'm going to
kind of funny. Too soon. Sorry, too soon. Withdrawn.
Wait, Michigan. Wait, he says Michigan. We play defense in the Big Ten. Georgia didn't seem to have problems running up the score on you last year.
Volume.
Yeah.
Georgia
I have a lot of thoughts about that game.
Let's just move on.
Okay, John, it's better to not think about it. Let me tell you.
Jordan, how about bail us out? How about Clemson?
Obviously big game coming off the bye week. I think it's a bye week that Clemson kind of desperately needed. There's a good chance to get some guys back from injury, kind of rest up. They played 8 straight weeks, I'm really interested to see how they look coming out, how they start against Notre Dame, because I think it'll be a good gauge on how well this team prepares, because we haven't really seen them in a setting where they get extra time. But it's still, honestly, I think Clemson's farther along than honestly I expected them to be. I know some people wouldn't agree with that, and Clemson's certainly been a subject of criticism. But honestly, I'm just enjoying the ride after last season. That was Clemson is miles ahead of where they were last year, and I think this team is still building towards the best version of themselves. So again, really interesting to see how they come out looking this week against this is the most talented team. Notre Dame is the most talented team they've played up to this point. So I'm really interested to see how they come out and how they battle, because I think it's going to be a physical game. Both teams are pretty good on the lines, and whoever makes more plays offensively is going to be the difference. And I guess that's kind of self-evident, but it's a big time game, and it's a chance for Clemson to kind of make a statement. So we'll see.
Exploring with Ben. So you mentioned the super chats. You want to hit those real quick?
Yeah, we might as well while we're here because DeAndre is just dropping them tonight.
Dropping them. Thank you, DeAndre.
Of course, he's going to back, Clemson. Of
Wow,
course, Clemson
really on the Clemson train here.
I love how you came in there, Will.
He's trying to make Will drop on the screen.
Will doesn't want to see the other super chat. He doesn't want to see that one.
The 6'6".
Yeah. We'll just go ahead. DeAndre, we appreciate you a lot.
We appreciate you.
I don't appreciate you, DeAndre. Maybe
we appreciate and when we don't appreciate the comment, we just say we appreciate the financial contribution, right? So D4, our buddy, who most of us do shows with every week. Catch D4 Sports channel, which I'll put in the chat here. Interesting comment about the Irish, yeah.
Horns down, D4. Horns down.
Yeah.
There we go. Will punch
horns
back.
Up, D4. Horns up.
Damn.
Oh man.
There was then LBC Trojan got one too.
Imagine a show with Will and D4. Oh my God.
I love when we have Will and D4 together.
Can't wait for that one. But yeah, they were Trojan. Lane Kiffin came up earlier talking about it. So LBC's got to show some love for the show and make sure the SEC remembers who Lane Kiffin is.
Well, yeah, the Lane train all aboard. So your Oregon Ducks, Ben.
I don't think I need to say a whole lot. We have almost a bye week this weekend, unless Colorado decides to start playing football finally. So we get to kind of relax. I'm not even going to watch football this weekend. It's like a bye week. I'm going to be at a football game here locally and then a concert that night. I'm not even going to be watching anything that day. But with Tony and Tim, I think all of us said we projected both of our teams kind of 8-9 win kind of range. We didn't have the super highest expectations. To see where we are right now, it's exceeded what I thought we would actually be at. So I'm not going to complain with the season. I'll take a Rose Bowl as long as we make sure we knock USC out of any potential they have for a playoff or something like that, or the Rose Bowl. I mean, I'll be happy with that. I'll take that.
I did want to mention one comment about Michigan, although I think Ben took care of most of it. I will say, got to clean up the red zone. The run game looks great. JJ, can we just take some shots? We have Ronnie Bell, Andrell Anthony can catch deep balls. Maybe Cornelius could catch a few fewer deep balls or fewer balls because he's been struggle busting it this year. Let's give Andrell Anthony a little bit more of an opportunity and let's just use what we have in the red zone instead of ramming it up the gut 500 bazillion times against the Ohio State Buckeyes, because we know Ryan Day is going to be throwing the kitchen sink at us.
I agree with you. I think they're probably going to look at their red zone performance after last night.
Somebody needs to put D4's last super chat up there just now.
Yeah, is Will back yet?
Oh, we put another one?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Will, don't look.
It's you thought the other one was bad, Will.
Yeah, Will, don't look.
I mean,
we better not lose this game, because I can't have people saying, man, Clemson lost to the team that lost to Marshall and Stanford. Yeah, it's not a good look. So,
hey, listen, before we close the stream out, let me say something real quick.
Or hold on, guys, whoever's in the audience, that video that just took a screenshot of our little show here and posted it on Greg Flugauer's Twitter. Nice.
What?
Yeah, good enough.
Yeah.
So let me. I'm going to talk about something on that note. So this great Hey, we appreciate everything that everybody in the chat, and I know a lot of you know who I am, that I work with Golden Blue Dude and some other channels, but I also work here with Mark Rogers quite often and help Mark on a lot of things. One thing that we could all do, I know we always talk about share a video, share the video, share it, share. That's great and that's okay, and it'll get a few people here to watch. But if you will go into a Facebook group, if you're an Oklahoma fan, if you're an Alabama fan, wherever, go into your Facebook groups and just type something like, hey, Mark Rogers had an interesting perspective on Alabama this week on his YouTube channel. And that's all you've got to say. And then people will search for Mark Rogers on YouTube. And that helps the algorithms, whether they subscribe or not. It helps the algorithms and gets more people here. So you have more people to chat with. So make sure that you promote the channel by doing that. It's great to share a video, but it's even better if we can get them to search for MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. So we appreciate everybody that does share the videos and tries to get people here. But it'd be nice next week if we had 300 in here.
Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your cousins, everybody. Just bring everybody in here.
We're chatting everybody up in here.
We're gonna wrap it up with
if you're a BYU fan, have all your wives sign up.
Right, exactly, because that'll do it right there.
Yeah,
that'll do it. So we're gonna wrap up with a final thought, and where can people find you? We'll start with Ben again.
I'll tell you, my final thoughts are join the Patreon, because we do have, I don't do this show often, but I like to get on the Patreon and talk with all these guys, and we kind of do it. And I just, and being a Michigan fan, I could use more Michigan support, because you think these guys are bad to me on the show. You should see when sometimes they are grilling me in the chats when we're doing it off the Discord and stuff like that. But yeah, that's where you find me, and I really enjoy it there, and we do have a lot of good laughs.
Awesome, and it is true. The Patreon's the place to be. The knuckleheads at the Voice of College Football. You want to join us. I just dropped the link into the Patreon. So thank you so much for that, Ben. Joey Foster, I'm about to pop Golden Blue Dude's channel in here for you, but let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, so most of the time I am on Golden Blue Dude, but I work with a lot of YouTubers. Mountaineer Paul, Kuz's Corner, a lot of different YouTubers, as well as Mark Rogers. And we appreciate everybody's support and everything. But if your favorite YouTube person is D4 Sports, I love D4 Sports, and I work with D4 sometimes too. I'm serious about what I'm saying. If he's your favorite YouTube person and you want to help promote him, go into a group on Facebook or something and just say, D4 Sports had an interesting perspective on whoever, Iowa State. It doesn't make a difference. Just whatever. And so they'll go and search for D4 Sports and go in there and watch some of his videos. Same thing with Mark Rogers or Golden Blue Dude, whoever your favorite YouTuber is. It's a great way to promote them rather than share a video, and I'm sure they'll appreciate it. That's all I got. Okay, what are we laughing about now? Can we have a moment of time?
D4 posted another
zinger.
D4 hit him with the bless his heart. If y'all ain't from the South, he hit him with a bless his heart. That is a kiss of death right there.
Yeah.
If you're from the South,
I literally think I about died.
So two ex-girlfriends ago, I was like, well, what is this bless your heart? What does it actually mean? And she said it's not good. It's basically like go fuck yourself, but nicely, a southern like sweet tea version of that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing. I don't know. I've said that.
Thank you, D. Thank you for Brandon, and definitely check out D4 Sports. Like I said, almost everybody here, I think, has a show with him, and we do good. We try to put up good content. My favorite part is the film study. Because we really get to break down what was happening in the game, what some of the key plays were, and D4 has his perspective as a defensive coordinator that I think brings a lot to the table. So check it out. All right, so we're on to Tide Guy, I believe. Final thought, and where can people find you?
Well, it's going to be a big weekend for the SEC with Georgia and Tennessee and Alabama and LSU. It's going to kind of settle, who's got the inside track on both sides. And anybody can find me at Tide Guy. On Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, we do Sports Jeopardy. Most everybody on this panel comes in, and you get to see them answer questions about other sports than just college football. And on Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, we do a trivia contest every Thursday night. So if you're free Monday, Thursday, come and check me out. You can win some prizes if you come over.
Yeah, win some prizes, folks. Why not? And you'll see most of the smiling faces here on Jeopardy and trivia. Not me. I refuse. But I do support in the chat as much as I can.
Tony and D4's there. Don't waste your time. You just watch the show. There's no need to join the panel.
Okay, Will and D. Final thought. Where can people find you?
You guys, D4, you're a lot, man. All right. And you can find me over on Will ND on YouTube. We're gonna have a good show this week with Only Talk Sports and possibly Jackson if he can join. So yeah, I will be playing a rosary before the game.
I caught your guys' last show. It was great.
Thank you, man. I just posted my. It says I'm Mark, but I did post my link. That'll be appreciated.
Okay. Yeah. I will make sure to. Yeah. There we go. Awesome. So yeah, check out Will. Some of the stuff you're doing with Jeffrey. I know everybody's giving you lots of shit tonight, but you're building a channel, and what I especially like, and I always say this, is that you dip a little bit in the NFL. I want to do an NFL chat with you sometime on the channel. I think that would be a lot of fun. LBC, it's true.
Terry came through for us, man. Terry came through big time.
Hey, listen. The Washington whatever the commies, or as they're called now, they're doing a great job. So we got Tim with final thought. Where can people find you?
You can find me right here at T. Prangley Jr. on Twitter. Please feel free. Love, engage. Some of you guys are funny. Some of you guys are challenging, but I always enjoy all of your DMs. Ask me any questions you want. I try to get back to everybody on so tomorrow night, make sure you watch Mark Rogers. He's going to have the incredible, the amazing Matt Zemek on for Trojan Talk tomorrow at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern. Tony and Rick and I will be along with Chris doing the Pac-12 show Wednesday at 7:30 Pacific, 10:30 Eastern. And then I'll leave a couple things for Tony. But thank you guys all for being here.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for always coming on and being part of this. It really does take everybody's brain power, and then I'm just the idiot who asks people shit. So Tony, same question. Where can people find you? I think Tim left you a little meat on the bone there. So
you guys can find us at the USC post games or on the Pac-12 shows. And we really appreciate all you guys in the chat. David, Shoelace Sooner, everybody, Dependent Fanatic, you guys are all a lot of fun. And we love chatting with you guys. We love getting to know you guys. And the really neat thing from this show is, as much fun as everybody has goofing around, everybody really appreciates just getting to know all the great folks from all the great schools. So whoever you guys are, hope you guys win this week, unless you're Cal. Fight on.
And on that note, Jordan, final thought, where can people find you?
Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Jobo0209. I'm also a co-host on the Clemson Voice of College Football channel. So we do pregame and postgame shows every Friday and after the Clemson game. So be sure to check that out. Give that a sub, like the video, it helps Mark. We're trying to build the team channel, so definitely check that one out. I also do. I also work with D4 a lot, so check out his channel when you get the chance. But yeah, thank you guys in the chat for interacting. This is I love doing this show every week, and you guys in the comment section really make it happen and really drive the conversation. So once again, thank you guys.
Thank you for being here. I guess I'll go and then.
John, I'm gonna stop you right there.
Okay.
And I'm gonna let you finish the show because I have been over here dying from this cough. I can't get over for like 2 weeks.
Okay. All right.
D4 really just tried to kill me with his last super chat because D4 apparently hates Notre Dame a lot for some reason tonight. I don't know what's going on there, but everyone here, you guys do a great job. You guys are what run the show, the chat, everyone. John does a great job with Outline, keeping us all on track because otherwise we would just go on and on for about nothingness for 10 hours probably.
5 hours.
until I fall asleep in a chair. I've done that like twice on some of our live shows before. So it happens, old age sucks. But I'm Ben of Exploring with Ben and Sam. You can follow me here. I'm going to drop in the chat. It's not sports related. Tomorrow we have a live premiere from overnight in the hospital doing some paranormal little investigations. Definitely not sports related, but just saying it's there tomorrow if you want to check it out. You can find me also on the Oregon post-game show with our new co-host, Brandon. He did a great job the other day on his first day, literally like 2 hours after getting to talk to him. And looking forward to our bye week against Colorado this weekend. So, John, the floor is all yours, sir.
Oh, geez. All right. So, again, I'll echo thanking everybody who is on the panel today, everybody who came onto the comments, even if it was a troll or whatever it was, if you came and you tried to be productive and constructive in some way, we appreciate you. Thank you for that. We have good back and forth. You can find me on Twitter at John Diadamo. I also do a show with D4 Sports, the Michigan Review Preview. So it's going to be it'll be a bit of a spicy show for sure coming up. On top of that, you'll occasionally find me on Golden Blue Dude with Joey, or you'll find me on Will's thing, or Tide Guy when he's not doing Jeopardy. I'll come on if it's just chilling, and other random shows and things throughout the week. But yeah, thanks all so much for coming in and joining us, and again, subscribe to Voice of College Football, subscribe to the channels, and check out our Patreon where we talk college football all the time. And with that, go Blue.
And we'll see you next Sunday at 10:45 Eastern as always.
Good night, everyone.